The moment I realized something was fundamentally off was when Linda, my mother-in-law, looked through me with eyes that held no warmth, not her typical patronizing stare, not her standard passive-aggressive exhale. This was different, more arctic, more cutting, as if her annoyance had evolved into something beyond irritation, as though she had transcended caring about me altogether. The revelation came during our evening meal. She maintained perfect posture, fingers interlaced beneath her chin, observing my every bite, like a researcher monitoring a test subject moments before the experiment begins. When I requested the salt, she remained completely motionless, offering only a deliberate, omniscient grimace if she possessed cosmic knowledge forever beyond my comprehension. Sarah, my spouse, remained absorbed in her device, predictably oblivious. Then the statement arrived. "You really ought to embrace alternative perspectives," dear Linda purred, her tone deceptively smooth. My stomach churned not from her words, which I'd encountered before from motivational charlatans, internet fraudsters, and amateur hypnotists peddling unlimited potential through brief online seminars, but now from my 64-year-old mother-in-law who still believed elevating the rotor improved Wi-Fi connectivity. I dismissed it initially. Over the following days, I attempted to overlook the transformations, her prolonged pauses before responding, her deliberate extension of awkward silences, her habit of completing and correcting my thoughts as if she understood my intentions better than I did. I observed her analyzing me, monitoring my reactions, conducting tests. The breaking point arrived when she summoned me to the kitchen one morning, clutching to coffee mugs, one for herself, one for me. "You've shown considerable resistance recently," she declared, sliding my cup forward without pleasantries or morning greetings. I examined the coffee without touching it. "Resistance toward what?" I inquired. Linda's expression resembled a teacher addressing an obtuse student's foolish inquiry. "Comprehension will come," she assured me. I refused the beverage. That evening, after her retirement, I began investigating. What I discovered chilled me to the bone. Linda's computer sat open on the kitchen surface. Ordinarily, I wouldn't intrude on her belongings, primarily because I despised the thought of scrolling through her bitter social media complaints about societal deterioration and generational failures. However, following her intense stare and the coffee episode, I sensed something amiss. That my instincts proved devastatingly accurate. Her browsing record revealed complete lunacy. The subconscious compliance technique revealed complete dominance over others, mastering mental implantation, covert idea installation methods. The Vance system, ancient psychological control revealed. Vance identifier resonated. I selected the initial link and felt nauseated. The website appeared professionally polished, excessively sophisticated for a social media advertisement scam. Black and gold design elements suggested luxury brainwashing. Videos featured a self-satisfied, bearded gentleman in expensive attire speaking in hypnotic, measured cadences. People believe free will exists, but do you consciously choose to blink? Do you deliberately yawn? Thought processes are programmable, and I'll demonstrate how. Dear God. And Linda, she wasn't merely browsing, she was registered. Her account remained active, and I could monitor her advancement. 90% completion. She had completed assessments, viewed every presentation, joined the community forum. Most disturbing of all, she possessed a username, MindArchitect64. I accessed her profile and scrolled, nearly becoming physically ill. Discussion thread, applying persuasion to obstinate Sunin-la need assistance. Comment, he shows resistance. I recognize it's effective because he responds. Should I intensify? Should I implement sleep reinforcement? Sleep reinforcement. I slammed the laptop closed. Behind me, a voice emerged. Snooping isn't appropriate. Dear, I pivoted. Linda stood framed in the doorway, illuminated by dim corridor lighting, arms folded, wearing a subtle smile as if she had anticipated this moment. I remained silent initially, pulse racing, mind scrambling for plausible explanations. Nothing seemed adequate because Linda Mindachitic 64 was already strategizing 10 moves ahead. She entered the kitchen, silk robe flowing like a magician preparing the grand finale. "You appear troubled," she observed, head tilted, studying me like a predator evaluating wounded prey. "Did you discover something confusing?" I controlled my breathing, deliberately avoid reacting. That's what she desired. "Your coffee's cooling," I remarked, indicating her untouched cup. Her lips curved. "How adorable," she murmured, approaching closer until her overwhelming vanilla perfume felt like toxic vapor. "You're attempting redirection. That indicates threat. Perception, that means I maintain dominance." My hands clenched beneath the surface. Control, that's all this represented to her. A contest, a power struggle. She believed she was winning. But if she expected submission, she misunderstood my character. I leaned slightly forward, meeting her stare directly. Here's the reality, Linda. If I genuinely wanted to comprehend your little brainwashing curriculum, I'd simply ask. But I don't need to, because I already understand exactly what's happening. She didn't blink. That revealed everything. I continued. You believe you've discovered some secret access to people's minds, a manipulation shortcut, and you've been testing it on me, experimenting to see how far you can push before I collapse. I exhaled slowly. But here's your miscalculation. Silence stretched between us. Viscous star. She awaited the conclusion. I delivered it. I'm not the one breaking. For the first time, something flickered behind her eyes briefly. A fracture. Recognition that she had underestimated me. Then, just as quickly, the facade restored itself. She smiled slow, knowing. We shall see, she whispered softly. She turned and departed, leaving me gripping the table edge until my knuckles ached. I should have felt victorious, should have felt advantaged, but I didn't, because as she vanished down the corridor, voice drifted back, almost melodic, almost amused. See you at dinner, dear. And for the first time, I questioned whether I was walking into her trap. That evening's meal felt like silent warfare, each move calculated, every glance a test. Linda sat opposite me, slicing her roast with precise, deliberate motions, eyes periodically checking if I'd crack. Sarah remained characteristically oblivious, scrolling through her device between bites, completely detached from the quiet battle unfolding at our table. But Linda was working me subtle cues. Small tests, pausing before speaking to force me to fill silence, slight head tilts after I answered, as if analyzing whether my responses were instinctive or implanted suggestions. She monitored compliance, signs that her techniques had penetrated my subconscious. And for the first time, I grasped the true contest. This wasn't about persuasion, it was about surrender. Not forcing belief, but making them believe they chose it. The problem. She didn't realize I was already 3 moves ahead. I allowed her to think I was weakening. I hesitated before responding. I dropped my gaze momentarily, enough to create the illusion of control, enough to make her believe her training was succeeding. Then I planted my own seed. Linda, I said, voice steady and calm, you're correct. She froze, mid-cut, just fractionally, then slowly placed her fork down and folded her hands before her. Excuse me. I nodded, maintaining neutral expression and measured tone. I've been narrow-minded, dismissive. I believe there's validity in what you've been teaching me. Her smile was immediate, slow, creeping. Continue, she purred. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice like revealing a personal epiphany. I've started noticing things, subtle things like how Sarah always reaches for her phone when she wants to disengage. Sarah scoffed without looking up. What Linda's attention locked onto me, encouraging, expectant. I pushed further, and how some people, when they think they have control, actually become more controlled themselves, because the moment they feel victorious, they lower their defenses. Linda's smile flickered momentarily. I continued, like when someone is so convinced they've mastered influence that they don't realize when they're being influenced. Sarah glanced up, sensing the atmospheric shift. Linda remained motionless, unblinking, but I saw it, that split-second flicker of uncertainty. Then she did something unexpected. She laughed, a low, smooth chuckle as if I had said something mildly endearing. Oh dear, she murmured, shaking her head. You think you're participating in the game. She lifted her wineglass and sipped slowly. But you don't even understand what game you're in. A chill traced my spine because, for the first time, I wasn't certain if I did either. I couldn't sleep that night, not from fear. Fear would have been easier to process. It was something worse. Doubt. That creeping, gnawing sensation that perhaps she wasn't entirely wrong. I kept replaying dinner mentally. Every word, every pause, every micro-expression on Linda's face. The way she maintained eye contact just slightly too long. The way she never denied my accusation, just twisted it, reflected it back onto me as if I were the one being manipulated. I needed evidence, real proof. At 2 a.m., I returned to the kitchen, activated my laptop, and accessed Linda's Mastering Influence course. Her account remained active, progress bar complete. But there was something I hadn't seen before, a private lesson, locked, marked advanced practitioners only. I clicked it. It requested a passcode. I didn't have it, but I had her notebook. She always carried it. Some cheap leather journal for grocery lists and passive-aggressive notes about proper trash disposal timing. I had seen her writing in it. The previous evening, I found it on the coffee table, flipped through pages, and there it was. A page scribbled with phrases. Short, simple, chilling. Pattern disruption creates vulnerability. Repetition breeds compliance. Control is invisible. Speak their truth until it becomes yours. At the bottom, a single number. I entered it. The video unlocked. The screen flickered, and Dr. Gregor Vance appeared, not the polished, smooth-talking version from promotional videos. This was different. Suit gone, hair disheveled, lighting dim, background almost clinical, like he was in some kind of facility. "Congratulations," he said, voice lower, slower. "You've reached the final stage. If you've come this far, it means you understand what others refuse to accept, that free will is an illusion." I swallowed hard, forcing myself to watch. They will resist. Initially, that's natural. But resistance is the first sign of acceptance. If they were truly independent, they wouldn't react at all. They would simply walk away. But they don't, do they? They argue, they push back, they fight. And that's how you know you already own them. A cold, sinking feeling settled in my gut. I had pushed back. I had fought her. Linda hadn't been trying to convince me, she had been waiting for me to fight back. To prove I was engaged. To prove I was already caught in her web. I slammed the laptop shut, pulse thundering, and that's when I heard it, a soft creak behind me. I turned, and there in the doorway stood Linda, composed, like she already knew what I had found. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, voice dripping with amusement. I didn't answer. She stepped forward, slow, deliberate. "That's good," she whispered, smiling. "It means you're thinking." I didn't move, didn't breathe, just watched as Linda stepped further into the room. The soft shuffle of her slippers against tile, the only sound between us. She wasn't surprised that much was clear. No, this was expected, planned. She stopped a few feet away, clasping her hands in front of her, head tilting slightly to the left, her tail. A micro-expression I had missed before, but now I saw it. She was assessing, calculating. I forced myself to lean back, arms crossed, acting like I was in control when deep down I felt like I had just stepped into quicksand. "You knew I'd look," I said, voice steady. Linda smiled, slow, patient, indulgent. "Of course," she murmured. "I just wasn't sure how long it would take." I exhaled through my nose, shaking my head. "Jesus, Linda, do you even hear yourself?" "I hear myself just fine," she said, stepping closer, voice gentle, soothing, like she was speaking to a frightened animal. "The question is, do you hear yourself?" My jaw tightened. "Right now you're angry. You feel like you've uncovered something sinister, something dangerous. But deep down, doesn't part of you wonder?" She moved closer still, until she was just within arm's reach. "Wonder what? If you would have even gone looking if you hadn't already felt it working." Her words slithered around me like a noose. I hated how they made sense. I hated that I was here, in the middle of the night, engaging with this, that I hadn't just laughed it off, deleted the files, and gone to bed like a sane person. But most of all, I hated the way she was looking at me like she had already won. "Linda," I said slowly, keeping my voice calm, steady, "you're playing with something you don't understand." Her lips curved. "Oh dear, I understand it perfectly." She reached out, and before I could step back, she placed a gentle hand on my arm, soft, comforting. It was a test, and I failed because I didn't pull away. I just stood there, watching, waiting. She leaned in slightly, her voice a whisper. "You see, you're already listening." I stepped back like I had been burned, shoving her hand away. The reaction was instinctive, visceral, but the second I did it, her smile widened because she knew she had gotten exactly what she wanted. A reaction. I clenched my jaw, forcing my breathing too steady, forcing my mind to claw back control. "You're insane," I muttered. She didn't flinch, didn't argue, just studied me like she had all the answers to a test I didn't know I was taking. Then, finally, she turned, heading back toward the hall. Pausing in the doorway, she glanced back over her shoulder, eyes gleaming with something that made my stomach twist. "Get some rest, dear," she said softly. Then, with a smile to damn knowing, she disappeared into the darkness, and I stood there, fists clenched, realizing too late I had played right into her hands. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Linda smile, that slow, patient smirk of someone who believed they had already won. I paced the kitchen, replaying every interaction, every word, every glance. She wasn't just trying to manipulate me, she was testing me. But for what? Compliance, resistance, engagement. That's when I realized resistance was the point. She didn't want blind obedience, no, that would be too easy, too fragile. She wanted me engaged, arguing, fighting, thinking about her, because the moment I engaged with her, she had already won. She was in my head. I had one choice. If I wanted to beat her, I couldn't just reject the game. I had to flip the board, so the next morning I played my role. At breakfast, I sat across from her, stirring my coffee, watching her the way she had been watching me, studying, calculating. She noticed, of course she did. "You seem different today," she mused, sipping her tea. I smiled small, knowing, just thinking. Good. Her eyes flickered with approval. "Thinking is the first step." I nodded, letting silence stretch, making her wait. Then, when the moment was right, I leaned in slightly. "You were right about something," I said. Her eyebrows lifted just a fraction. She didn't speak, didn't push. She just waited. Smart. "I wasn't really listening before," I continued, tone measured, like I was working through some personal revelation. "But last night, something clicked." Her grip on her tea mug tightened. Kept going. "It's not about control," I said, shaking my head. "It's about perception. The way people think they're making choices, when really, the choices were made for them before they even realized." Linda leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "And what do you think that means?" she asked, voice smooth. I let the pause stretch just long enough. Then I smiled. "It means you're just as susceptible as everyone else." Her expression barely faltered, barely, but I saw it. A flicker of something. Uncertainty. A fracture. I tilted my head, mirroring her own trick, letting my words sink in. "You spent so much time focusing on how to lead thoughts, how to guide people without them noticing." I shrugged, voice casual. "But who was leading you?" Silence thick, suffocating. Then she did something that almost made me question if I had miscalculated. She laughed, soft at first, then louder. "Oh dear," she said, shaking her head, eyes gleaming with something dangerous. "You're starting to understand." She set her cup down, leaning forward just slightly. "But tell me something." Her voice was almost musical now, light and teasing. "If you're so sure you've turned the tables," her smile widened, "then why are you still playing the game?" A chill crawled down my spine because I didn't have an answer. And worse, she knew it. The air between us was thick with something unspoken. I could feel the weight of her words settling around me like a net, tightening, squeezing the space for any escape. I had thought I was playing the long game, that I could outsmart her with my own brand of manipulation, but now I wasn't so sure. Her laugh still echoed in my ears like a taunt, a challenge I couldn't quite meet. I had been fighting for control, fighting to reclaim my dignity, but now it hit me. I didn't need to fight her. I didn't need to outwit her. I just needed to let her think she had one. For the first time, I let the mask slip. I didn't try to argue, didn't try to reverse her mind games. I just looked at her, my gaze steady, and said, "You're right." Her smile faltered for the briefest moment, a crack that I knew was everything. "You've been playing me this whole time," I continued, voice low but steady, "but it's okay. I'm okay with it." Linda froze. Her expression shifted just slightly, like she wasn't sure if I was mocking her or if I had truly given in. "You think you've got me figured out, don't you?" she asked, voice tight with something that almost resembled doubt. I leaned back in my chair, my lips curling into a half-dash smile, double quotes. "No, I don't think I've got you figured out." I let the words hang there, silent, calculating, deliberate. "I just think I'm the one you've been training this whole time." Her eyes widened, a flash of panic cutting through the calm facade she had so carefully built. It was only there for a second, but it was enough. Because that was the thing about manipulation. It only worked if the other person didn't realize they were being manipulated. The tables weren't turning, they were already turned. She was the one who had been played. I stood up slowly, walking toward the door, letting the silence fall heavy between us. "Well, Linda," I said without looking back, "I guess I've learned all I need to." I could hear her breathing behind me, but strained as I opened the door. "See you at dinner, dear," I said, the words with an edge like a knife that was now buried deep in the heart of the game she thought she was winning. I didn't wait for a response. I didn't need one. I was already gone.